Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 3 long weeks here at SRA.
Welcome back to the best racing in North America, home of the SRA GT3 Team Series. 60 minutes of action-packed door-to-door racing, 6 divisions, 6 different championships on the line. Let's get ready for some action tonight.
An incident. Turn. We have Boardman at a yellow. Looks like he's dropping down positions there on the chicane as a bunch of cars are coming through.
Byron's going to take a dive in the Lexus.
Johnson looking to go down the inside of Maxwell.
And we're off and away for SRA.
GB3. I see it.
Good evening, Sim Racing Alliance. Welcome to week 4 of Imola. Going to be a night race this time. Going to be very interesting. I'm your host, Caden, and I am joined here by the one and the only Toaster. What's going on, Toasty?
Hello, hello. It's once again an honor and a privilege to be here with you, Caden, to stream week 4. SRA Season 7 at Imola in the dark, as you said. It's another fantastic race in the works, if you ask me. This is a track carryover from last season, but it was in the wet, daytime during the wet, and now it's nighttime during the dry. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out with the drivers tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely would have thrown something this week if it was another wet race. I don't think anyone needs a repeat of Silverstone last week, but let's take a quick look at our track map here. So Imola, I know it's a very popular track, 19 turns, a little over 3 miles long, pretty technical section. A good amount of flat out sections, a couple of tricky chicanes mixed in there. You got any fun insight on the track this week?
I wouldn't call it inside, as I'm not one of these fast D4 drivers, but I will say one of the things I liked about this track that I've carried over to this season is it is a narrow track, but due to the number of chicanes and tight corners and parts where you have to slow down significantly, there are a lot of opportunities to really push those break points, where if you can get the inside of the corner going into a corner and you can outbrake or close enough to outbrake your fellow drivers, you can really produce and make some times for good overtakes, as opposed to having to just pass them on flat straights, which this track does not really have. Even the straights have bends. I mean, it's going to be an interesting race for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We've seen drivers put down blazing fast times this week, and in fact, our driver standings have been updated with the drop race in this time. So looks like for our team race, Baseline Racing to Uranus, which, I mean, good team name all around, gotta say. Sercone and GTG leading the pack out with 309 points. Madhouse Racing, Scuderia T-Rex Racing, which, I mean, perfect for Dyno Track this week, gotta say. Ethan Marvin and Santos, both 20 points behind. We have a GRR, as always, right in the pack there. Space Invaders with Smalley and Air. Number 4 is Lunar Lone Star Motorsport with Max Diggs and Selena Boonstra. And let me tell you, I've been watching Diggs on this track, and he has been putting down some blazing fast times. He's been making his way down to the very low 141s this week. Number 5, Tremeling and GB3, definitely a crowd favorite. GB3 didn't have that great of a race last week, but I mean, all around a pretty good stacked 5 there.
Yeah, it's the lineup is just absolutely incredible, and some of these drivers, some of the ones we didn't expect to see such fast times, not to downplay anybody's skills on the racetrack, versus the ones that just kind of came out of nowhere. I'm just like, it's quite a lineup, and it's really fun to watch them race. And that was in the wet that really set everybody off. With this one at night in the dry, it's, I mean, arguably more difficult to race in the wet, but racing at night really limits your visibility, and then also your ability to judge distance and reaction times, because you see brake lights, which can blur your vision, which can really throw off, your brake markers and stuff like that. It's going to be really interesting to see how these drivers keep on top of their brake markers with limited visibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at our driver standing here, we have Smalley coming out number 1 with 201 points. Sercone number 2, 193 points. Santos number 3. We got Max Diggs, who we were just talking about, number 4. And KB Smith coming in number 5 with 160 points. Definitely all drivers to keep a lookout for this week.
Absolutely. I mean, couple 3 honorable mentions as well. Got OBDA representation. Picard sat out last race, but it looks like he's gonna join us tonight for this race. And then also Curtis Adams is racing. Tomato. I didn't actually see him. Is he joining us this race? He had incidents in the first 2 races and wasn't able to finish.
I do
3 races.
not see him in the server right now. I don't remember. I may remember him saying something at some point that he may miss this race. I think he may be on vacation somewhere, if I remember right. But
that might be it. Okay, yeah.
This will be a drop race for him. But while we have drivers getting ready to line up to leave the pits to start their quali. Yeah. We decided that we wanted to spice the streams up a little bit this week, so throughout the race we did some digging in behind some of these drivers, and we'll be giving a little bit of an insight of who exactly is behind the wheel of some of these extremely fast cars that we've been dealing with, and be able to try to take a look at that. So. But it looks like we are coming out on our silver qualifying here. We got a couple of drivers coming out, getting ready, going around that lead lap. A good change that I think, and last week was the first that I got to experience it, is the 21-minute quali time now, where we have a minute for all the silver drivers to get in their car, line up. And
complete their setups and stuff, right? I think that's what it's designed for. Yeah,
exactly.
I was gonna play off that and say I absolutely love this as someone who's been in silver this season and last season. It seemed to play off of as soon as you get in the server, it's pretty much as soon as you could get your car thrown out. So with this 1 minute, not a delay, but the 1 minute timer, it really gives you literally a whole minute to be like, okay, let me make sure I select the right setup and get my car lined up, and then pull into queue, and then you can actually space yourself out, and it just gives you that breathing, that 1 minute to breathe, which is, I feel like underappreciated.
Oh, 100%.
So, thank you for that, SRA. Another reason you guys are awesome.
Exactly. There is not enough time in one of these very long streams to shout out all the reasons that they are great, but we are coming back around, getting ready to start our actual hot lapping here as we get our drivers coming through. We got several silver qualifying, getting ready, getting out going. Noticing that some of these drivers are really following pretty close going around the track. A little closer than I think I would try to push around some of these corners personally.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that 3+ second buffer, because there's nothing more frustrating than being 2-3 tenths up and then end up catching somebody who's 2-3 tenths down, and that just ends up stacking, and you end up ruining a really good lap. As I think everybody knows, there is no passing in the qualifying, so you really have to build that buffer, or not build, I'm sorry. You have to maintain that buffer as much as you can, so that you can finish your hot lap, even if you're catching the person in front of you. If you got a 3-second gap, that should be enough space to at least finish the lap, and then build the buffer back again if you wanted it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is it's a bit of a tough thing to try to balance out. On one hand, you don't want to start going too slow throughout your quali lap there, and kind of waste some of your tire pressure that you may have had just leaving the pits there. Don't want to lag too far behind, and every second spent out here is time ticking off we only have 10 minutes to qualify. Realistically, that's 2 or 3 laps of good laps if you can really get them in. that needs to be taken into account. But I mean, if you catch up to that driver, exactly like you were saying, there's no passing. You just kind of have to bear back and watch your lap go away.
Absolutely. So while these silver drivers are working through their qualifying, before we actually see some of these super fast lap times come, I'd like to take a second to thank the SRA sponsors. So a huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at SRA, as well as support from Documise, a modern business solution for product management. Go to documise.com to learn more today. And support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. And a big thank you to our affiliates, Track Racer. Experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high-quality sim rigs and accessories. Use code SRATE or SRATE at checkout to support us. Armamentario, a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chance to win. Enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced HUD to change the way you experience ACC. And To Go Setups. Premium esports setups for everyone. Use our affiliate link on our Discord and take your drive to the next level. Thank you to all of our sponsors.
All right, and just as you finish that, we are having a lot of drivers start to pass the line here. Looks like we have all of our silver drivers in the 143 range right now, with Kativikar in the 143.1 range. Got a couple others coming into here. I was gonna say, anyone you got your eyes on?
I mean, Barker, I think we were talking about earlier, or maybe it was off the stream, had a solid quali and pole start or second position start last race. Boonstra, I mean, I don't want to play favorites, but she does play on a controller still. We confirmed it last race. The fact that she's able to put these times down, I'm always keeping an eye on her. And then there was someone else too, wasn't there? Diggs. Oh, he's not silver though. I think those were the 2 or 3 silver ones. I see Adams in here. And then I'm always curious to see what he's up to. Oh, and then that Picard got switched to gold. Okay, so yeah, that was the other one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with that being said, as we 14 minutes left in this, it's time to do our first driver fun fact. We have Selena Boonstra here, and I bet all y'all didn't know this, but Selena Boonstra may claim to be from Canada, but that being said, we've actually uncovered that she's Genevan royalty. A shy girl grew up totally ignorant of her royal heritage until her grandmother, who looks very similar to Julie Andrews, we must say, told her she was the heir to a European throne. Selena was subsequently given princess lessons, in quotes, to make sure that she's able to comport herself with grace and class at fancy state dinners. Selena continues to pursue her hobbies of sim racing and making awesome videos while she waits to be crowned Queen of Genovia.
That is super interesting. The more you know. Who'd have thought she was royalty? Is that maybe why she's so fast? Does she have like specialized training? Does the royal crown have some sort of training program?
It must be. All that tea sipping must make her really good with a controller, I guess, because
yeah,
obviously
I mean,
being able to roll D4 with it.
Yeah, I mean the pinky out, and then the coordination, the lift and tilt and sip, and then tilt and set back down. I mean, you're talking about a lot to work with there. Yep.
Exactly. All right, looking at our drivers here, looks like best lap from air here is a 141.8, breaking down under the 142 mark. That, I mean, I knew we were going to see some drivers doing it, but I mean, silver drivers pulling that is incredible. Looks like he may need to be D3 bound.
Oh, I don't know if you saw it, Caden, but in our chat, it looks like Jess has chimed in and said royalty doesn't have to follow the car's specs. So I'm not sure if I'm inferring that correctly, but does that mean that she's able to exploit her privilege to follow different rules? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think that's exactly what that is. I think being on it, she is definitely maybe got a controller that's a little heightened above above what we have. Maybe potentially, you know, that Xbox Elite controller, perhaps that may have some steering input built into it, but
the one that no one else can get.
Not pointing fingers or anything, but
To loop back, one of the other drivers, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm spacing it today, but Lloyd is currently sitting position 3 for silver driver qualifying. He was he did really well the last 2-3 races. I know the first race he did well. Can't remember which one he might not have done as well, but I'm gonna be keeping my eye on him as well.
yeah, absolutely. Especially after his teammate got bumped up to, what was it, D3 or D2? I'm solely referring to it as the Reckoning now. I don't think it needs to be any other way.
Yeah, that's accurate. But yes, I don't remember if it was D2 or 3, but yeah, that was a significant promotion after just a couple of races.
Yeah, he definitely deserved it per se. I mean, he was putting the gap on these other drivers. But it looks like Air was, he just lost what little time he had built up. Still 141.8 though, as we start to round towards the end of our silver qualifying here. We've got some heaters of times thrown down for the silver class, and gold has to come up and respond with that accordingly.
Oh, absolutely. And just for reference, if you're listening to the stream, according to the SRA's hot lap reference times, D4's reference time on this track is a 142.8. And we have quite a few people putting right under, or right at or just barely above that 142.8. So, I mean, the times are close, which is obviously great to see because that usually indicates great racing. And then on top of that, it seems like with the shakeup that everyone's pretty well lined up in the silver division to be right in D4, which is fantastic to see because obviously that leads to more balanced racing and, more fun for everyone on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are just starting our gold drivers coming out and pulling around now. Can't wait to see what some of these guys throw down. If Silver's doing 141s, 142s, got a couple 143s and 144, it leaves a lot to be, or I guess I should say not a lot to be taken.
Yeah.
Throughout the rest of these races, not without throwing out some maybe half-hearted accusations throughout the race of people that should not be as fast as they are.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you skirt around that? See, if people were to dump, unnecessary items out of what would be trunks of their vehicles while on the racetrack in an effort to maximize speed and minimize lap time. Is that good? No, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. I have no idea what they're doing, and I don't think they'll know what we're talking.
Okay, fantastic. Great. Okay.
Perfect. Tremmeling crosses the line first. He is officially on his hot lap time now. We'll follow him for just a second, see how he does. Maybe instigate a little bit of that curse early on in the race so we don't have to do it later.
Yeah, we got to establish the baseline. We got to pick our favorites. Oh, wait, no. We're not allowed to gamble. I'm sorry.
I'm not a gambling man.
But we can stack the odds. That's different. It's not gambling if it's a sure thing.
I was going to say, it's not gambling if you're the house.
Exactly, and we are the house. Oh, man.
It's like Nate is putting some predictions in chat. He's thinking GB3 number 1, GT number 2, Daniels 3, Adams 4, White Scarver 5, Picard number 6, Boonstra 7, Tremmeling 8, Garrity 9, and Marvin 10. Looks like he is taking those gambling right out. You know what? I may be able to throw a little bit of money down on that one for him.
I was just gonna say, yeah. Let's do this. You got the ball rolling, so yeah. You can't delete comments or edit them, right? So we can make sure this doesn't go away.
Exactly. Okay. He may try learning Photoshop after this race, but I think he picked some strong drivers coming out in front there, but we'll see if he's able to stack it all. And if he is, well, I think Nate needs to move up a few positions on his own.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about this until just now, but Nate's making predictions on who's going to win. One, we haven't finished quali yet. Two, the race is at night and quali is during the day, and track conditions are going to, I don't want to use the word significantly, but the temperatures are definitely going to change on this track, especially as the race goes on, and with increased tire wear. That's really bold to put the predictions that well. I'm really curious to hear his logic. But hey, we'll take your money. I mean, I'm sorry, no, we won't. But the house will take your money. We're not allowed to take money.
All for the cruise fund.
Exactly.
But it looks like we've got a couple of gold drivers running out. No one has touched the top times yet, but GB3 coming in with a heater of a 142.3. Looks like we have Sarah Cohn in number 5 currently with a 142.395, which is actually exactly the same time as the driver just ahead of him, Smith, down to the thousandth of a second. That's very impressive.
That's crazy.
Tremeling coming in number 11 as of right now with a 142.7. Like I said, there is not a lot of time to be gained as of right now.
Yeah, apparently you should be placing some predictions too. You're absolutely spot on. They're just stacking themselves right in here, like sliding in by the hundredths and thousandths, not even by like tenths. This is incredible. This should be a really, really, really good race.
It is definitely going to be a close race. I'm sure a lot of these drivers, GB3 included, I'd need to talk to him outside the race at some point, but it did not seem like he was having the most fun of races per se last week. Definitely spinning out a lot. I have a feeling he a little bit more aggressive of a driver, which is really great in the dry, but
Oh
as
yeah,
you get a little water on the track, he started losing it a little bit there.
yeah. So we got about 4.5 minutes left in the gold qualifying, and I'm gonna take a minute here to let you guys know about one of our other drivers, GB3, which we were just talking about. So recently discovered information. Research has uncovered that GB3 was once a humble farmer, only getting into sim racing when he uncovered a message meant for Doug Mitchell. GB3 sought out Mitchell and learned that he was destined by birth to be a great sim racer. Under the tutelage of this once great driver, GB3 becomes a powerful sim racer in his own right. GB3 lost a hand in one especially epic battle for race supremacy and now races with the help of a mechanical replacement. To this day, GB3 remains locked in an epic battle for power with his father, Gordon Beverly Jr., or Papa Beverly as we call him. We could find no other information on how Papa Beverly plans to balance his desire to triumph with his paternal love and desire to protect his son.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of GB3, bumping himself up to number 2 with our first gold driver to break into the 141s with a 145.9. I definitely think that a little bit piece of history, and it seems like ongoing battle between him and Papa Beverly is really pushing him to keep going. But it looks like GB3 is number 2. We have Martin Diggs, which I was watching him before the race here, and he was putting down some real fast times, really almost breaking into those 140s. But it looks like Tremeling jumped all the way to the top of the 141.7 as our fastest lap of the day so far.
41s, wow. So I'm going to go back to this. For reference, that is a D2 reference time. Holy shnikes, they're fast.
So let's start calling these drivers out like we see them.
I mean, man. Where's those predictions again? Where did you have Diggs and Tremeling in air? Let's see. Tremeling was 8th.
Number 7. Yeah, 8th.
I don't see Diggs on your predictions there, Nate. Or air. Huh? All right. Well, maybe we'll get a. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to say that. That's going to be bad. Nope.
Glad you caught yourself on that one.
Yep. The curse is bad enough. I don't need to double down on it.
I was going to say, our lawyers are only so good.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Man, I wonder if that cuts to the cruise fund. Every time we
Yeah.
mess up, we're like, cha-ching!
What
We'll
do
be
you think
going out in a
there?
kayak by the time we're done.
What do you think? There never has been an official SRA cruise yet.
God, that actually explains so much.
Speaking of, we were just talking about Martin Diggs jumping all the way up to number one, just passing Tremling with a 141.755 as opposed to Tremling's 141.795. So he is 0.04 seconds faster through these, which is
0.04. Wow.
insanity. That is such close times. That is, just you barely didn't hit your gas pedal on time, kind of close.
Absolutely. So I'm looking at the times here. It looks like the first 18 drivers are all within a second of each other. We've got 141.755 to 142.755 is Maxwell in currently in 19th place in qualifying. That's half the board. There's 35, so just over half the board is all within 1 second of each other. That is, wow, that is fast. Or not fast, I'm sorry, that is tight.
Yeah, absolutely. It is such a close race. Such a close race. We've
I
got,
hope so.
like you were saying, 5 drivers all in the 141s, and I mean, I see 142s all the way down.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think we talked about this yet, Caden, but I think it was a point brought up in one of the chats. I don't know, I can't remember which one, but how aggressive some drivers are coming off the line from the green flag. Now, obviously, in wet conditions, drivers usually are more cautious because it's wet. Obviously, this being dry but night, and these times being so close, I'm curious, and we're gonna find out here soon enough, how aggressive these drivers are coming off the line, because well, the first corner is a chicane. First 4 corners are all chicanes, really. And then the hairpin, I mean, but they're also so close. I wonder how much they trust each other by now. We're 4 weeks in, 4 races in, you kind of learn the drivers you're driving around. The shuffling's already happened. Conditions are better. Visibility's not great because it's night, but it is still better than it was, considering there's no rain.
Yeah, absolutely. And bouncing off something you were saying with being 4 races in, I mean, after this race, we're officially halfway done with season 7. It goes by very quickly. I mean, we were talking before the race. It does not feel like it has been this quick throughout it. It it goes by so quick. It's insanity. But look,
Yeah.
looks
Sorry,
like
go ahead.
we're it looks like we're finishing up our quali here. We've got Botella that is currently almost a second up on their time. We're gonna stick with them for just a second. Looks like they're finishing almost 1.1 seconds up. Pretty crazy.
Oh, it looks like Sir Cone took pole position, 141.6. He found an entire 10th, which sounds like nothing, but that is a significant gap in considering the times here.
Yeah, absolutely. That is it's definitely some insanity. As we go through, but like we were saying, I mean, some of these drivers are so close to each other that there's not a lot left to be had when it comes to some of these. So finding a 10th on a track like this is nothing to look twice about.
Yeah, absolutely not. That was to find it that late too. That's really pushing it, and like really, I guess I'm hypothesizing, but they must have identified that one corner, that one section where they're like, oh, I know exactly what I did wrong, and they're like, boom, fix that, and there's that 10th. Because a 10th is a significant improvement on such tight times.
Absolutely, and as requested, we're going to attempt what I'm going to say is a track walk here.
Got this.
It's definitely coming out real cool with our night here. Do you want to go ahead and read out our top probably 10 or so here?
Oh, sure. So pole position is Sircone, and then behind him we got Diggs, Trembling, Air, Smalley, GB3 in 6th, Rodriguez, Levine, Mitzer, Picard is in 10th. Then we go down to Marvin, Botella, Smith, Nava, KB Smith, GTG, Holmes, Lloyd is in 18th, just to give you an idea where we are. And then Kativar, I'm just going to read them all, I guess. Santos, Barker is in 21st. Osborne, Jess Osborne is in 22nd. Garrity, Maxwell, Boonstra is 25th. Daniels, Adams from OBDA is in 27th. Scusa, Cespedes, Sweeney, White Scarver, Wolkowitz, Potvin, Retchin, and Eastcott is in 35th. 35 drivers on the grid. And scrolling through these, it looks like there's a really on a pretty decent mix between silver and gold, between pole position and 35th. I mean, based on the quality times, that checks out. It was just a very, very good race overall, or very good quality overall.
Absolutely, we got our drivers pulling out on our first lap here. Looks like we've got Sircone is trying the wiggling technique up front there. Gonna see what he can do.
Serpentine.
I say, I don't know if we touched on this last week or not, but the different strategies coming in between drivers to either warm or try to keep their tires warm, their PSIs up. There's kind of two main strategies or I guess three or so that I've seen. One is to wiggle back and forth, like we've seen a lot of drivers do. Generally, is used in professional racing. You'll see a lot of it. Second big strategy is to accelerate really fast and slam on your brakes. Try to keep your brakes warm. Because your brakes are warming up, it can help keep your tires up to temp and pressurized to keep going. And last big strategy that I've seen is some of these drivers just holding their brakes down like 20% going through and just holding their brakes down throughout the entire track to try to keep them warm. All has their advantages and disadvantages throughout.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely kind of the three main things that I see with drivers going through here. You'll see some of them serpentining, you'll see some of them just running up on other drivers and hitting the brakes last second to barely make it out, and then some that are just kind of chilling all across the track. But
so speaking of that, you were talking about the different strategies to keep your brakes warm. Just talk strategy broadly, because obviously I have no idea what these drivers are actually running, and my strategy is usually to just wing it. But speaking of keeping brakes warm, this being a night race, so obviously a little bit of a cooler track, a little bit cooler conditions. So I'm curious, I wish there was kind of a way we could see these specs, but also it would probably be cheating. How many drivers, though, run the brake pad to dampener size ratio if they do like more closed brakes and then do a different looser brake pad, or I don't know if looser is the right word, or if they run more open and then they do a different brake pad? Because I usually like to run brake pad ones, and but that takes a little bit to keep them warm, and this track being colder, you just keep your dampeners a little bit more closed. So I wonder if there's a bit of a balancing act there, or there's really not a lot of straights too, we talked about. So there's not a lot of spots where you can just lay off the brakes completely for a lot of the track. I guess coming down the main straight, but
I'm gonna say
yeah,
we are lining up, getting ready to go here. Very, very exciting. We are in our last little stretch before we go off. Going to be an interesting start to the race. It's a decent sized straight with a hard left coming, but we are officially almost started with the race.
I'm Ron Burgundy. Give us the green flag.
There we go. All right.
All right.
We are off and away with SRA, as some of our very great commentators like to say. Looks like we immediately had Diggs bump up. Sarah
Oh,
Cohn
there's an
comes
accident in
back
the back
around.
of the grid. I saw 4 drivers. Oh gosh, who?
Looks
Oh my
like
gosh.
most of the drivers are recovering from it, but I saw a couple of them spun around there.
I'm gonna
Looks
see
like
if I can do a replay on my screen.
we had
See what you
our
guys can see. There we go.
ill-fated
Yeah.
lap one incident.
It looks like only a couple drivers actually got taken out. A few got spun, but it looks like only a couple got actually taken out. But anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead back to the start or the top of the grid.
Yeah, Sarah Cohn is still in the front with Diggs. I thought Diggs was going to try to pull a good move on Sarah Cohn there. He was in front just for a little bit, but Sarah Cohn ended up getting the inside of the corner on the first end of the chicane and managed to pull it out and through. So Sarah Cohn is sitting in number 1. It looks like Diggs is not wanting to give that position up like he had to. Is sitting very closely behind him. Trimmeling in number 3. Smalley in 4 and Aaron 5 to start this race out. But these drivers are already almost done or getting very close to being done with lap 1 here, coming around the last couple of corners. And I don't know about you, Toaster, but lap 1 is always the big stress, and then as soon as you cross that finish line into lap 2, it's like, all right, you know, now the race has started. Managed to survive lap 1, we made it through, and now it's time to start focusing on hot lapping.
I'm absolutely exactly the same way. I run as cautious as I possibly can be without being a hazard, and that I don't brake too early or, you know, run super slow. But yeah, I give myself as much space as I need to. I'm like, give me that at least a couple of tenths in front and behind. Let everyone pass me if they want to, and then as soon as you cross into lap 2, it's like, all right, here we come, and then you start really pushing it because that's when I feel comfortable, like you said. It's absolutely the same mentality. And looking at these splits, we're looking 2-3 tenths between a lot of these drivers. It looks like they're all just riding each other's tail.
I was gonna say, we have a massive pack of drivers coming through, like we were talking about with the splits of it. All these drivers, most of them were within tenths of each other. There's not a lot of pace disparity, and as such, we've got a packed crowd here. But it looks like Diggs is gonna put our fastest lap down with a 153.4 for the first lap, which doesn't sound like much, but that's gonna fall a lot by the end of the race.
Oh yeah, you got to give allowance for the first lap. Is obviously going to be slow. You got cold tires, cold brakes, and then it's lap 1. But yeah, by lap 3, we're going to probably see some of those D3, D4 times again as some of these drivers really start setting this track in. Oh man, you see with how close these drivers are, it's really hard to decide which one to focus on because they're all so close. Which battles are going? Oh, there's a 3-car pileup. Adams.
Looks like Osborne just got spun out too, but going back a little further, it looks like Adams, Daniels, Osborne got flipped completely around on track. That's really gonna suck. It looks like he's gonna be playing the old classic last to first game, but Sarah Cohn, like we were saying just before, it's not going to be long with that 153 lap time. Is already set at 143.4, and this most likely is on full fuel, so he is running some wicked fast times.
That is absolutely amazing to see. So it looks like we have Cespedes, White Scarver, Osborne, and Daniels are all in the pit. I'm guessing, I didn't see where Osborne was, but I'm guessing like at least a couple of these guys teleported. So hopefully they're not in there too long. I don't know how much damage they took. I guess we'll keep an eye on their pit timers. Oh, Cespedes must have just done an early pit stop. So he's doing the early pit stop strategy of this race because he's already back out on the track. So he's coming
absolutely.
out in the 32nd. Sorry, go ahead.
I would be curious to wonder with some of these drivers, kind of what goes through their head. I, for a while, was one that, I really like liked pitting early, so I didn't have to worry about anything. But I think I'm starting to change. I'd almost rather hold off, pit a little later. It gives you just that little bit of break that you can kind of back up and think again for a couple of seconds. Be like, all right, we can finish this out. Especially with last week's race, with some of these tires heating up as much, it helps cool your tires down a little bit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I had a couple of pits last week, so I had more than enough time to think about what had happened. But I wonder what goes through some of these drivers' heads pitting early versus late. If you're up front, it probably helps a lot to pit very late, especially if you are a very fast-paced driver, because you can try to work your way out as far as possible, going through, to try to not come out in the middle or the back of the pack and start having to fight drivers all the way back up front again. But looking at our times here, I mean, 143 ones, 143 flat from Diggs, is coming through and coming fast. It's definitely cool spectating a night race. Can't say that I've done this too much. It definitely adds a bit of an air to it with things being in here, but we are what is this, lap 3 now, coming through. But checking in on the review here, looks like GB3 has worked his way up into 6th place right now. Sarcone still holding that front position. Tremeling is managing to hold his number 3, so Sarcone, Diggs, and Tremeling are all pretty well been holding the front of this for a while now, but
It looks like, yeah, the grid looks like it's starting to spread out a little bit, which is kind of nice to see. Some of these drivers are going to start getting into their hot lapping sections. I've been following Santos here in 25th place. He's been trailing by about a half second behind Eastcott here. It looks like he desperately wants to get by, but based on their pace disparity here, it looks like they are just too close to actually make a move right now. I'll have to keep an eye on that.
yeah, absolutely. It looks like Henrique, or as we know him as Listoza, popped into chat here saying he misses D4, which, I mean, I bet he does. He's probably fighting a little bit more in that higher division, not pulling out some of the 30-40 second gaps he was on other drivers at the first 2 races that we had the privilege of watching. But definitely sucks to lose a driver like that. Ended up being very entertaining to watch. Kind of one of those guys that you could check back all the way throughout the race and just keep going. But it looks like Air spun out and is dropping positions real fast. He's going to try a little bit of a sketchy rejoin here, but seems to work out for him. That's one of those clenching rejoins.
I know there's that saying, if it works, it's not stupid, or something. Oh, goodness me, I'm sorry.
Speaking of,
Holy cow.
and there's the curse coming into play. It looks like that was Air.
I was looking at Picard and they were coming right by him, or maybe we were looking at different ones, but I didn't see who that was.
It seems like you spoke a little bit too soon, but what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say there's that saying of if it looks stupid but it works, it's not stupid. I feel like that doesn't translate directly to sim racing though, because sometimes it can look stupid and not be the smartest move, even if it works. Sometimes the reason it worked is because another driver was smarter or more cautious than you were. Not that I'm targeting anybody or calling anyone out. Just some moves are less cautious than others.
We're getting into dangerous territory here, but
we are.
Looks like a 142.7 is our fastest lap of the night so far, ran by none other than Martin Diggs, or Max Diggs, sorry. See M and I immediately go to Martin.
Cadavar and Picard are racing, or were racing door to door about 3 seconds ago, and I thought Cadavar was going to get by him, but Picard did not let up, and Cadavar was forced to drop down, going through a corner. That was fantastic nerves right there. I wonder how they're feeling right now.
Yeah, it looks like Picard is making a bit of a creative interpretation, I guess we can say, of what track limits are throughout some of this. I'd be curious to know if he's got any warnings or anything along those lines quite yet. But I mean, our front end drivers here, Saracone, Diggs, and Trembling, are all still rolling strong. It looks like, looking at times here, Trembling's a little bit behind, actually quite a bit. So our 1 and 2 drivers are definitely pulling ahead. Smalley is trailing Trembling, and they've seemed to just be kind of yo-yoing back and forth, trying to get some good positions up.
And the lap times, the top, what is that, 4 or 5 drivers are posting their 143.5, 143.7. That's pretty incredible considering they're running, like you said, full race fuel, but they're also battling for positions. Sircone, or Diggs, is only a half second behind Sircone. Like, that's pretty good to be able to maintain that kind of lap time while also focusing on position and defense as well as offense.
Yeah, great point. It's definitely hard for these drivers, as we all know, when we're door to door with another racer, to try to keep the hot lap times up and going throughout the entire thing. I mean, really, it's impossible. You start dropping 10 seconds very quickly when you're, especially, you know, the stress, and I'm sure as we see some of these drivers here, you know, it's blinding in your rearview mirror with 2 lights, especially from the Porsche, which seems like it may as well be 2 massive LED light bars on the front of that thing.
I say, are we sure? We might have to check their sponsors. Are they sponsored by Duracell or Energizer or something like that for all the extra lights they got on their car?
Speaking of, I think this is the sorry to cut you off, but seems like our 1 and 2 drivers had set the exact same time. It's Saracone with a 142.745 and Martin Diggs with a 142.745. So that doesn't say how close these drivers are racing to each other and how, I guess, evenly matched they seem to be. I mean, they ran the exact same time.
That's, you know, we're gonna need telemetry data on these 2 drivers here. Screw the lawyers, we're doing it. Bring them in. Let's go. Okay, no, seriously though. Moving back to the middle of the grid list, the 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th are all, oh gosh, never mind, it spreads further than that. The times are just so close. But there's just this chain of drivers. We've got Holmes, Maxwell, KB Smith, Lloyd, Boonstrip, Picard, and Cadavar are all just literally one after the other. About a half-second gap between them all as they go through. It's just waiting for the driver in front of you to make one mistake, and they're bunching up a little bit, going through the section there, and then spreading out. I could watch this all day. It's absolutely incredible.
It's like 6 yo-yos all stacked on top of each other. It's crazy.
This is what makes for good racing, though, is how close they are. I mean, it's not a battle every, 5-6 minutes of race. It's a battle the whole race. It's just going to be a battle the whole way through. Cadavar is literally chasing Picard like he owes him money. And it's amazing.
Especially with these 1 and 2 drivers, like we were saying, their best laps are both the exact same. And if that doesn't prove to be good racing throughout, I don't know what is. I mean, we've got almost a second, but they are yo-yoing back and forth. We were seeing not too long ago Diggs here putting pretty much no space between him and Saracone, trying to get through some of those corners. You know, the Ferrari's a little bit faster on its top end, but man, does the Porsche love its corners.
It really does.
Looks like we're catching an incident here. Lloyd and Boonstra both spun out.
Oh no!
Boonstra just getting back onto the track. I know all that royalty only comes into so much play throughout a race like this.
we're gonna have to see. Gonna have to keep an eye on whoever was involved in that incident. That the royal family doesn't come in with a decree of some sort. That could really cause some issues.
Exactly. As we all know, the Genevan royalty has a lot of say here in America and can definitely put some hurting, especially when it comes to things like driving without a license and potential speeding tickets coming through. Definitely don't want to
Exactly,
be
yeah.
crashing into any buses or anything like that.
Hmm. I mean, she doesn't have a license. We know she's not insured. I mean, have you seen her registration? There's not even license plates on her car. Like, this is insane. Who's allowing this?
Looks like
Going to the bottom of the... Nope, sorry.
Sorry, we'll highlight this real quick. Sarah Cohn just put down a faster lap with a 142.57. So he was pulling ahead for the fastest time of the night as of right now. But like you were saying, going to the bottom of the pack here, who are you...
I was gonna look at sorry, Curtis, because he was one of the ones I suspected teleported to the pits. Yeah, he was in the pits for about a minute and a half, but he only stopped for 41 seconds, so it doesn't look like he actually teleported then. But he's currently sitting in 34th. I'm sure he's itching to make up time. But it's not sure how that's gonna play out for him. He's already pitted, so most of the league has, or most of the racers does not, so he should be able to make quite a bit of time just that way. But also got to stay incident free, and he seemed to run into a couple of incidents. I'm not sure whose fault they were, but those are always unfortunate.
Yeah, looks like Nate Bright. I'm going to go ahead and correct him since he hasn't changed his YouTube name yet. Popping into chat, talking about how Boonstra's license plate probably just says RYLTY or royalty for you. Those of you who don't want to spell random letters out in your head.
Oh gosh, she's gonna have to use that on her livery for next season. That's gonna be awesome.
I'm gonna say we've outed her at this point. She needs to have full Genevan effects. Like you said, she may say that she's a Canadian driver, but honestly, I mean that's just staying humble for the rest of the drivers. I know I would feel a lot more stressed if I had literal royalty on my tail trying to pass me. You know, who knows what's gonna happen if you try to pass that. But speaking of passing, looks like GB3 is passing everyone up, putting up the top time of the day so far with a 142.5. He is currently sitting in P6 and still driving the Aston Martin from last season. I know there's very few Aston Martin drivers coming back. I like highlighting that that was my car of choice for the last season. It seems like something he has been very good in and definitely sticking with it.
Yeah, I also drove the Aston Martin last season. It was a great car. Balanced, drove really well, super easy to handle and maneuver. And the Go setups, shout out to our sponsors again, were fantastic for it. I mean, I can't say it made... I'm pretty sure 99% driver error when I made a mistake. Let's put it that way. Actually, it was 100%. Who are we kidding? But yeah, I loved it. I just switched to the Ferrari this season, and you know, I think I'm going to try to switch cars every season. But good for him for sticking with a car that he likes and that works for him. It's obviously doing him well. So
Gonna say he's sitting in D4 with some obviously very fast times through tonight. So that is nothing at all to scoff at. Looks like kind of 17th through 21st here, we've got a nice little train going on of drivers trying to pass each other and continue to go around. We've got some Boonstra that is really, really close to Garrity. She is definitely trying to pull a bit of a move here. But she also has Escott, it looks like. Yeah, that is definitely yo-yoing on her back end, so I'm sure that's putting a little pressure on it. But looks like that Ferrari is pulling away through this straight over the Porsche. I mean, it is a rough track for Porsches with as many flat-out sections as we have here. They don't like the flat-out, but man, do they do well in the corners.
yeah, I mean, to knock on the Ferrari that I'm driving, I can't stand how long it takes the turbo to spool up coming out of the corners. If you miss your I guess you have to miss more than one thing. I was going to say your line, but it's your line, your gear, your speed, your everything. You can really set yourself back for the entire lap if you don't come out on the exact right cadence. I don't know. I'm going to say the word cadence. Doesn't matter if it's the right word. Nate can't tell me it's wrong. That's what I'm going to go with. But yeah. I was just looking at. Looks like Osborne is trying to make a. I'm sorry, not Osborne. I'm sorry. White Scarver is trying to make a play on Retchin. Riding his tail feathers.
Say they are very close drivers right now.
Really are. There's so many of them.
Especially going into braking zones. I know following that close gets real sketchy sometimes. But it looks like he's going to try to pull a move through the corner.
Oh, is he going to pull it off?
Oh, he just pulled out. Doesn't look like he quite did it. See if he's going to pull to the inside or try to keep that outside line.
Yeah, that seems to be, I mean, my experience. That's the place to do maneuvers is pull into those braking zones, take the inside line, and just try to just outbrake them by just a couple, 3 meters. I mean, more than 3, but, you know, 5 meters or so. And then just force the other driver to take a different path, and then if you can keep it clean. Oh, we literally just saw that with
Speaking
Selena.
of keeping clean.
Did you see that
Looks
with
like
Selena?
White Scarver just pulled right ahead of Retchton. We were following that for just a second, but you said Selena pulled ahead. Looks like she lost one position there. Have a little bit of a spin from Picard on the track. Yeah, he is back on and going. He's been knocked down to 21st. I think I saw him in 13th not too terribly long ago. So that's going to hurt a little bit, but...
So, oh man, that is unfortunate. But yeah, speaking of Selena, I just hit the replay on it. It's over now. But Selena pulled a pass going into the braking zone of the first chicane around Eastcott, I think it was. Although now the drivers have probably changed position a bunch. But essentially doing exactly that, forced him off the line and slid past, and very well executed. Love to see it.
Yeah, 100%. It seems like Sarkona is starting to pull a little bit of a gap on Diggs here. Seems to be proving himself a very consistent driver. We have a 2.2 second gap between him and Diggs, whereas not too terribly long ago, I mean, that was a couple of tenths at times, probably 4 tenths or so between them. So, he biffs that corner a little bit, starts jumping out. He's definitely going to lose a little bit of time going into the next corner there from Diggs, who sure is eating that up as fast as he can.
Absolutely. Following another close battle here, Rodriguez is chasing Smith in the third chicane, if my memory serves correctly. He was really close to him. I don't know what happened with his battle there, but it looks like he's losing a couple of tenths behind him. Oh, and Retchin is sitting on the side of the track. I'm going to hit a replay on that one for 20 seconds and see if we can figure out what happened there. Coming down. Whoa. Oh, that looks like a network glitch.
Oh, you hate to see something like that.
That's a race ruiner for sure.
I'm gonna say that's the last thing I need. We talk so much about, you know, the absolute practice that goes in from some of these drivers, and you know, having something, you know, a race incident that pops up and knocks you out, or you know, you make a mistake and something that pops out, but your ISP or router going down is another thing to be very worried about throughout some of these races. That's one of those that you just have to block out of your mind and really hope for the best. But
oh no, you got to change the Wi-Fi password before you start the race. Come on. You have anyone else in your residence, can't say house, but your residence, change the Wi-Fi password. Change it to a good one. They got to keep everyone out for at least an hour. But no, seriously, like you said, that is, yeah, it's something you have to worry about, but there's nothing you can do about it. You just kind of, I mean, you just work with what you got as long as you can and just hope for the best, because hardware issues, network issues, we've had everything from network issues to equipment literally just failing mid-race where they either lose force feedback in their wheel or their pedals become disconnected. Last season, one of the racers' rig fell apart. I don't think it was in the middle of a race, but like the rig itself just split. I was like, man, what do you do? Like, man, just welcome to racing, I guess. More real than we expected.
Say at that point you have to start driving sideways, I guess, but having your rig break would definitely be a massive worry. I have not taken that big of a plunge quite yet.
Oh man, you're in for a treat.
But looks like Nate Bright is popping out of the chat. He said he needs to get some practice in, so hats off to you. Gonna tip the old cap, and I will see you most likely next week. And if not, I'll be very disappointed.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, looking
so
at
I'm
our
gonna
racers, go for it.
Oh, I was gonna say, a few seconds ago, it looked like, I don't know what happened, but it looks like the seas parted in front of Boonstra, our royalty driver tonight, and she was able to make up 2 or 3 positions by driving through a couple of cars going through the second chicane as they went through the grass. I'm not sure if that was network or what. It looked really suspicious, but I can't go back that far anymore.
And say if you look
replay.
really closely, you can see the diplomatic flags flying out in front of her Porsche now.
Oh gosh. Was there other one? GB3?
Yeah, it
With
looks
his,
like he lost a position. Probably that SRA sponsored hand that he has right now, just fritzing out just a little bit, like we were talking with hardware issues. It's definitely another worry. I mean, I'm sure you got to update the software in that thing quite frequently. You know, bugs are going to be. Oh,
yeah.
speaking of bugs, it looks like
no!
And was that Marvin? Both spun out, and he is working on getting back up on top of the track. It was not Marvin. Marvin's still going. Was that Daniels? It was him and Daniels both tapped each other. That probably would have been a blue flag right there that just got out. He is GB3 is still sitting position 8 though, so I think he lost 2 positions through that. Not too bad considering all things.
Yeah, no, that's not too bad. I would say I caught that on your stream there. It almost looks like some sort of imaginary force, pushed the cars off the track there. Kind of weird with GB3.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of practice that goes into stuff like that, especially trying to become better and more in tune with it, to continue racing and putting down the very fast times that he has. I'm sure at some points, you can get knocked off and definitely start getting some of those thoughts and maybe plowing other drivers that you have to fight throughout the entire thing. But part of what makes a good driver is being able to fight those and ultimately come out on the top side, the good side.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with absolutely everything, especially hopefully coming out on the good side, the light side. I'm watching these the delta times, the gap times. It looks like quite a few have spaced out to several seconds. Oh, okay, I see. We've got drivers going to the pits. That's what's happening here. The great shuffling. And what are we, about the halfway mark? Getting to the halfway mark. Yep, that checks out. Okay. But, who was the one I was just looking at that was out there about... Oh, Wolkowitz. There we are. It's out there, got a 13-second gap between the car he's chasing and a almost 7-second gap between the car behind him, which is Smith. This is, and I think I've said this every race, and I'm going to say it because I can. This is my favorite place to be, where you're lost in your own thoughts, literally hot lapping. And if you know the track and you're comfortable with your abilities, this is the ideal place to be in my book. Is out there just driving, laying down the best times you can with the conditions that you have, knowing exactly where you're at, and nothing blocking your way.
Yeah, it really becomes that Zen state, as you're kind of talking about here, where you're just going through. I know a lot of these drivers blast music. I know Osborne is one of those that there's a lot of music going, but that almost would be a fun poll throughout SRA here of how many of these drivers listen to music and how many of these drivers just kind of chill in a car and let the sweet turbo sounds of the Ferrari be the music that they need.
That would be a fun poll. How many drivers are normal and how many are psychopaths? And I won't tell you which one's which.
I was gonna
but
say
as a
I
lawyer-
have a feeling that we need to stop right about there, but we just hit
Nope.
the halfway point
that's
here.
it.
Sercone, Diggs, and Trembling still 1, 2, and 3. I mean, they have been consistent as all get out. Sercone and Diggs. Looks like Sercone dropping off a little bit of the track there, but Diggs is rolling up on him, taking advantage of every little bit that he can. He's got about a 1.4 second gap, which he has taken down since the last time we checked in. I think it was what, a 2.3, 2.4 second gap. So they are on the very slow yo-yo train, but looks like GB3 is all the way down to 23rd, so he lost a couple more positions. I don't know if he spun out again there, or...
I think he went into the pits, if I remember correctly.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he pitted. That's my bad, but he still holds the fastest lap time for the day with a 142.5. As he goes through. It definitely comes back into our talk earlier. I mean, he pitted right about the halfway mark.
Yep.
Gave him a little bit of a break to recover from that little spin that he had earlier, and I'm sure he's back in it and focused as ever.
Actually, so I'm going to pivot off of that, actually, taking into account that GB3 is in 23rd right now. But he is third of all the drivers who have pitted. So looking at the reverse of our board here, Curtis Adams is sitting in 32nd, but has also pitted. So I'm going to list the drivers here. Barker, Adams, Botella, Osborne, Garrity, Whitescarver, Sweeney, Ayres, Cespedes, Schmitzer, GB3, Rodriguez, and Smith have all pitted. So 21st to 33rd. They're also on the very bottom of the leaderboard. But taking into account, let's see, their pit stop was between 48 and about a minute, 56, 59 seconds. So take that pace disparity and add a minute to it, and we're going to see these times, we're going to see the positions do a complete swap. Maybe not a complete swap, but there's going to be a lot more sprinkling around as the drivers move up and down as other drivers pit here. So they are definitely not out of the race yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely learned against making the predictions when it came to how drivers are going to swap out outside of the pits, with Listoza's great comeback of what he did, where he was chilling in first and he managed to make up enough of a gap to push himself all the way to the end. But looking in chat here, it looks like Daniel's poking a little bit at Nate, who is left already. Has left, but he was Nate's position 3. What's the word I'm looking for? Prediction. There we go. So I think by the end of the night, Nate's going to owe a little bit of money.
House always wins, Nate. House always wins. I know you can't hear this, but you'll hear it eventually. It is sad to see that Daniels dipped out of the race, though. I'm assuming because it was due to damage. Daniels, if you can put something in the chat or whatever, I guess we'll find out soon too.
I was gonna say, if anything too, pop in the race review. We'll pull you up after the fact, get a little commentary. Always love having drivers pop up from all sides to give a little bit, especially with us talking about pit strategy, us talking about. We had a brief stint at the start of the race there where we were talking about, keeping your tires warm, things like that. I feel like that's something we should definitely start asking the drivers. It's going to be unfortunate for the ones that get pulled up here. They're going to have about a half hour at a time and up with us with the amount of questions that we need to ask everyone.
Right, yeah. Also, to the point of asking drivers stuff, how aggressive they feel like they should be coming out of the gate with the lap 1 incident that we had, lap 1, turn 1, pre-turn 1 incident. It's like if that was a result of aggression, or if we could find out or get a feel for if that's just like, hardware issues, network issues. I know it's impossible to narrow down exactly, but taking a poll of the field to see where everyone kind of feels, and like generally push it, generally don't push it, and then we kind of see what happens there.
Right,
But
and
yeah,
I know we've talked about it, and I've heard it talked about a lot of, how calm some of these drivers are. I'm very, very tense behind the wheel, and it's something that, you gotta work out slowly, but I'm sure some of these drivers, even running as fast as times, I mean, you gotta get into that state of just being able to let it go, to keep going, to, I mean, just keep pushing at the end of the day, and I'm sure some of these drivers are more relaxed than I could ever be behind the wheel. GB3 would definitely be one of those. Sercon and Diggs have to both be just calm as all get out right now, just chilling in the front of the pack. Trembling, still holding that third place. It looks like Smalley is making a run up on him. Not gonna let him have it easy, but I mean, these front couple of drivers here have just been hot lapping this entire race and doing a fine job at it.
that's fantastic to be able to maintain that that hot lapping mentality. Like you said, I'm also a very tense driver, especially when I'm around other drivers. When I'm hot lapping by myself, I can usually kind of find a little bit of zen. But if I see headlights behind me or taillights in front of me, I'm either screaming trying to get away, or I'm screaming trying to catch him, and that just ramps up the tension. Oh goodness. Um, Looks like Aaron. Oh, who is that? Garrity? Yeah, Garrity was able to pull by Air going into the first chicane. Coming down the main straight. I don't even know if it's not technically a straight. Coming past the finish line. I
Say
hate
it
calling
looks
it a
like
straight.
Nava snuck their way up to 5th place right now. Ethan Marvin 6th, GTG 7th, 8 is Holmes, 9th is Maxwell, and 10th is Lloyd. We've been following Lloyd quite a bit. Definitely get some fame being Listo's, I guess, lead teammate now, seeing that they have bumped up. But I mean, it's like Maxwell. Seeing a yellow flag on Maxwell.
Oh! What is
Marvin's spun
happening?
out. Let's give it a couple of seconds. We'll go back and see if we can't see what just happened there. But looks like Ethan Marvin
Yeah.
spun out.
Marvin and Barker, I don't know. It looked like a network issue. Like a car just came out of nowhere on my screen, but maybe that was...
Say we'll follow along Marvin here for just a second, but he runs pretty wide. Oh yeah.
Yep.
It looks like a disconnect on, I don't know, that's tough.
That was...
Like you said, a car just came out of nowhere.
Yeah. I was following Barker, and he was going straight, and then literally that car appeared next to him, tapped him, and just ran off the road. It's like, well, that was weird. I mean, obviously network issues, so that explains it, but like that's got to be incredibly frustrating on both drivers' parts.
Say, I
You
think
you're
we
doing
need
a
to
clean
be
lap and
very,
man,
very quiet because we just barely mentioned network issues, and now we're seeing several drivers with it tonight. So, gonna have to be a little careful with that one. But GB3 has managed to work his way up to 20th now. Definitely trying to pull up on some of those drivers that haven't pit yet. Just, I mean, he's one of those drivers that he gets in the groove and just keeps going with it. But Sercon and Diggs still P1 and 2. They are starting to catch up to some of the back end of the pack, and I'm sure have been passing drivers here and there as they've been going through, which definitely creates an interesting dynamic for some of this as they are sending it through, having to wait for blue flags and people to get around. You can start to be a big give or take. A driver, is able to yield the blue flag early on, whereas, say, Sercon gets an early yield, whereas Diggs gets a little later. It can start putting a good sized gap between some of these drivers.
absolutely. And then as we've seen in, I guess not in our races, but as I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen it in racing, when you are the blue flag driver and you are letting the other car pass, a lot of times cars will try to sneak in as well, even if they're not part of the blue flag. They'll try to sneak in right behind the person passing, and then it just kind of can create a very intense moment for all drivers involved, which from this standpoint, it's quite fun to watch, but super stressful on the ground. So curious to see how this plays out with those guys as well. Oh, those curbs on that third chicane. seeing these cars bounce. I'm
I'd say
amazed they don't
these
spin out more
drivers
often.
are insanely aggressive on some of these curbs. I'm definitely trying to learn a little bit here as we're going through. I need to take those a lot more aggressively than I have been.
Yeah,
but
I mean, keep in mind the setup though too.
this
You
is
hit him with
true.
the wrong setup, you will absolutely fly. Zolder taught me that.
See, it looks like
Man,
Picard has made it back up to 14th after all that. Santos sits in 15th and a little bit of a gap here. Potvin following pretty close behind him. Looks like we may have something coming up here before too long between them. GB3 still sits in 20th. Is there any drivers that we really need to highlight? Katavikar has proven himself to be a fast driver. It looks like we have another one. Couldn't catch who that was. Rejoining right next to that pack there. But I mean, we've got lots of fast drivers out tonight. Looks like our 5th place is a silver split. We're definitely seeing the gold start to stack up. 1, 2, 3, 4 all gold. We got 5th, who is Nava, in the silver split, and then 6th through 9th is all gold again. But
looks like Boonstra is trying to make a pass on Katavar. Katavar. Karatkar. I'm gonna have to break out the pronunciation sheet, but she's
she is right on his tail.
Yeah. Oh man. She's been I mean, GB3's been owning the lap times, and there's no hiding that. But she has been driving super aggressively, just like throwing her weight around. And by weight, of course, I mean her social status and standing.
Exactly.
Not practical physical composition. So, lawyers, add that to the amendment there, before I get in trouble for that too. Gonna hear a click, and I'm just gonna be like, beep. I'm like, oh, there that went.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like we have
3 cars in the pits. Katavar, Marvin, and Lloyd are all pitting.
say it seems to be right around the time where a lot of these drivers are starting to pit in here. One thing that I just realized too is Daniels was our pole position start, so it looks like, I mean, getting wrecked out is not a fun thing here.
Yeah, I would say Barker was our, if I remember correctly, he was the pole position.
Oh, sorry, Sarcone was pole position. I'm reading my notes wrong.
Yeah, Sarcone got it. Yep.
But it looks like Diggs and Sarcone are very close to each other right now. I mean, they are right on each other.
You'd love to see it. Let's see, who else we have up here that we've been following closely. Santos is closing in on Picard. Oh, now let's go into the pits. Like really closing in. Got a couple 3 seconds gaps between a few guys. Wolkowitz is closing in on Schmitzer, breaking inside that 1 second marker at 0.7, 0.8. Playing a little cat and mouse there. Cespedes is trying to close in on Lloyd, just under a second away from him. Which I realize a second sounds like a long time, or a lot of distance, translates to a lot of distance, but when you're actually racing, I mean, you can lose easily 3/10 on a bad corner, and then all of a sudden it goes from a second to 2/3 of a second. It's just crazy how fast it
makes it more impressive that between P1 and P2 right now we have a 0.565 second gap, so they are running within a half a second of each other right now. Still very close lap times. Looks like those previous bests that they put up have been their best and will continue to be so far. It looks like they're running a 143, 144 race pace in that margin there. But I mean, Diggs is not letting Sarcone have this easy. They've been right on each other. Tremeling is a little further back, but I mean, he has been more consistent than than I would be for sure. Just kind of chilling in third place. There hasn't been a ton going on up front here, so.
So we have 9 drivers that have not pitted. Let's do a little pit strategy talk here. 9 drivers who have not pitted. We got about 12 minutes till the pit closes. Laps are about 1 minute and 50. So we'll say an even 2 minutes. We got about 5 laps. Within the next 5 laps, to be safe, I'm sure that you could probably push a little bit more depending on where you are on the track, before they have to pit. So those 9 drivers, the next 5 laps, and most of those drivers are at the top of the leaderboard right now. Oh, it looks like Santos is into the wall. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it looked like for a second, Diggs ended up hitting and comes out P4. So we have Sercone and Tremling, which I know Tremling the last race pushed his pit till the bitter end. So we'll see if he ends up doing that again. But Diggs seemed to take a pit, and he's gonna finish the last 14 minutes of this race just hot lapping his life away. Seems like he got a really nice gap up in there. Coming up, he's going to be rolling up on Curtis Adams here, who currently sits in 32nd. But GB3 is working his way up. We saw him drop all the way back down to, what was it, like 24th or something? He's back up to 12th place now. He's just been kind of chilling, working his way up. Picard sits in number 5, Diggs in 4th right now. GT3 is taking that 3rd place, so 1st through 6th drivers are all gold. We've got 7, 8, and 9 are silver drivers. Potvin, Nava, and Smith all, which, if I'm not mistaken, that may be the new McLaren that just came out. I think Smith is one of the adopters of the new McLaren that came out between last week and this week.
I wonder how that's going for him. I've heard good things, but I have not ran any laps in it, so I'm curious to see how that's working out. I mean, he's doing really well in the race, it looks like, so.
Yeah, and our top 3 drivers just ended up pitting, so Sercone, Tremling, and GTG all pitted, which puts Martin Diggs, I keep saying Martin Diggs. Diggs, Riggs, keep messing them up, but our Diggs is pulling out in front now, which we should see that over in just a second. Picard is number 3, but he still needs to pit. Potvin, number 4, still needs to pit. Looks like Tremling is coming into 5th place behind him as soon as the game updates right there. But it's going to be interesting to see where Picard and Potvin end up with them being so high, where they can kind of slot their pit in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna guess. So I'm not a betting man, but I'm gonna guess Picard's gonna push his pit, and probably Potvin as well, given how many places they made up, and they're trying to put. I'm imagining they're trying to put a little bit of a gap. I mean, they got a good 3 and 4 second gap respectively, which on this track in these conditions has been a significant gap. So I'm gonna say they're gonna push their pit as long as possible. And they're going to try to smoke in there at the last second, smoke back out, and try not to lose more than, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe 6 places if they can play it correctly.
Yeah, it seems like Picard is building himself a nice little gap in there if we're looking at the map to do it. So I think I agree with your assessment of he's going to try to push it out a little bit and hopefully come out within a good gap that you're not fighting other drivers too much,
right,
and pushing through. But Diggs is sitting in number 1. Sercone is number 2 now. Looks like Sercone has some time to lead. So it looks like Diggs with the better pit strategy a little bit earlier there.
Oh, there was a tap. Sorry.
No, you're good. Call it as you see it.
Scusa and Garrity looks like they're fighting door to door. And
so we've got a 3rd sneaking up. What was that? Yeah. Number 725?
705? That'd be Eastcott. They are just like 3 cars are taking up what should be 1 car space. I couldn't tell who tapped who, but one. Oh, there's another bump.
Speaking of tap,
That was East Scott into Garrity.
Garrity, yeah.
Now losing places. Oh man, I'm gonna run that back. That was fantastic racing.
Yeah, you hate to see that right at the end of the race, coming in our last 10 minutes now of the race. So, like we were talking with Picard and Potvin pushing their pit off to the last second, they have 7 minutes and 20 seconds now to try to put it in, decide when's a good time. Like I said, Picard's building a decent-sized gap. It looks like he's catching up to Sarcone a little bit, or at least pushing the try here.
The wrong way on the track at the chicane, which is this first chicane. It's playing back now. What has happened? Yeah. Oh, it looks like he just spun out. Maybe tire wear. Got a little bit of oversteer, spun it around backwards. He's facing the wrong way. I'm sure he's fixed himself now. So one thing we didn't Oh, Levine is back in the sand. Seems to be having a little bit of trouble getting going. One thing we didn't talk about, though, coming out of the pits.
A little bit of a tap onto, who was that there? Seems like he held it through,
Sweeney.
But...
Looks like that was Sweeney.
Yeah, he joined and just kind of waltzed his way over onto him. But it looks like Potvin's taking this pit now, so Picard is going to be the one that pushes this all the way to the end. Going to be very interesting to see where he ends up here, but it looks like Diggs is still in first place. Sarcone has got a couple of drivers to pass to make it up to him, so I mean, it's definitely possible within the next 8 minutes and 21 seconds now, but definitely looking good for Diggs of this point. Trembling sitting number 4, but he's definitely going to pass Picard when he ends up pitting, so I definitely see, as long as he can stay up. It looks like Smith is riding up close to him. I mean, it looks like our top 3, 1 and 2 swap positions, but Trembling is still being very consistent and definitely a projected 3rd place finish.
It looks like, oh gosh, KB Smith ended up in the sand. I missed the actual cause, but it looks like it was just a little bit of oversteer coming out of the turn 4. Coming out of turn 4, he put himself into the sand. Hate to see that. Now he's back on the track, so that's good. See what he can do there. Door-to-door battles going on, checking the grid. Oh gosh, caught that in perfect time. Garrity just looks like missed a break point or got a little bit too squirrely coming up on another driver and put it in the sand instead of taking them out. So the other driver definitely thanks you for that. I know that sucks for your lap time, but
yeah, it is. It's getting down to the wire now. You know, the last 10 minutes of the race, the stress starts building back up again. You start settling in, starting to see kind of around where you can finish. You know, you may see that driver right ahead of you that it's like, well, maybe I could pass him if I sent this hard enough, but not an easy place to be coming in the last 10 minutes. And it always sucks. I mean, we talk about it over and over with how much time these drivers put in, and especially losing to a race. You know, there's always the lap one, there's always the mid-race, but losing a race right at the end is the worst feeling that someone can really experience. But it looks like GB3 has worked his way up to 10th place. With Picard still not having pit. I mean, we're gonna have to look at that. He is cutting it very, very close.
My man. Hey, maybe I should have bet on that. And pushing his pit. I mean, he's building his time, though. It looks like he's got a whole nother second. He's into the 5.5.
Yeah, it is definitely getting down to time. It looks like he's going to take his pit now, so he is starting into the pits in position 3, and we shall see how many he loses throughout the pit. Have we got a count on kind of what our average pit times were for tonight?
It was between 46 and 58 seconds. I'm thinking it's depending on how well you lined up and then also how much fuel you'll end up taking. But seems like about 50 seconds is considered a decent to 2 second long pit. There's a lot of 48s in there. 47, 48, 50, 50, 53, 50, 48. Yeah, it's so yeah, between 46 and 50, 55 maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And checking back into Picard's position here, it looks like he has already dropped 10 positions back. He is actually he has gone much further now. It looks like 16th as he pulls out of the pits. Is kind of where he'll settle in. So I mean, a 13 spot loss going from 13 to 16th is definitely something to factor in to find out when you're making your race strategy. As we saw, pit times can mean all the difference, with Diggs taking a bit of an earlier pit time, and he is way ahead of any other drivers. Actually, he's catching up more towards the back of the pack, as opposed to Sercone, who is several seconds. It looks like 7 seconds behind him. So don't know if Sercone had maybe had a little bit bad of a pit, or just had to fight a little bit more coming out of it. That seems to have cost him some of those seconds and a position coming into the last little bit of this race.
Absolutely. So you mentioned the nerves as you get to the end of the race here. Keeping up with the back of the pack here, we've got 29th and 30th place, and 28th, 29th, and 30th. There's a pretty solid 3-car battle between Wolkowicz, Sweeney, and Levine. I mean, they're not fighting for pole position by any means, but I mean, any position you can make up, as you were saying, that's still a position you can make up. That's more points on the board, and that's obviously gratification and more room to talk about how you beat one of your other competitors in your division. So, I mean, kudos to them for keeping going at it. What are we inside of 4 minutes left, and they're not relenting at all.
Yeah, they are.
Great racing.
They are definitely trying, and honestly, I mean, the back of the pack right now is much more interesting than the front. What a surprise that Diggs, Sercone, and Trembling are all P1, 2, and 3. GB3 managed to drop himself into the top 10 with number 9. We've got GTG at 8. Rodriguez at 7. 6 is Nava. 5 is Smalley. Smith is number 4 in the brand new McLaren, which I have to say, that's a pretty good looking livery on it. I like that purple for as little as we can see it. Trembling number 3, Sercone 2, and Diggs number 1. And since we're pretty much doing a top 10, Holmes at number 10. Looks like Kadavakar may have dropped off the track for a second and lost 1 position. Trying to monitor and see what it is. Pit window is officially closed. I haven't seen any driver. I think all of our drivers took all of their pits, so nothing to worry about there as we come into the last 2 minutes and 15 seconds of this race. It is just about over for week 4, race 4 at Imola.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, back to the bottom of the grid. Curtis Adams is looking for a way to make it past Santos there. He's about a half second behind him. He's been behind him, pretty close to him for a few laps now, best I can tell. Levine is still looking for a spot past Sweeney, who's looking for a spot past Mokovic. Love to see that. I think we have a few drivers that are pretty evenly spaced. KB Smith, Botella, White Scarver, all a second and a half, 2 seconds apart. So barring any glaring errors or mishaps, they should be pretty okay. Jess Osborne with a nice, comfortable 5-second gap around him. He's just got to bring it home at this point. Lloyd got a 3-second gap, 2.5, 3-second gap around him as well. So yeah, just looking to bring it home. Not really much opportunity outside of a significant event to make up a spot, but I mean, I gotta say, you gotta be happy with an hour-long race at night in these conditions. I mean, you gotta be happy with what you got. I think that's
Yeah,
more than fair.
it looks like we're rounding out a little bit of a battle here between Maxwell and Boomstra. Are very, very close to each other. It looks like Maxwell is trying to pull a bit of a move here and there. He definitely seems to be trying to pull out on corners. They are right on each other as we come into the final lap. We'll have to kind of monitor them to see if that ends up being a position change or not. But Maxwell is not done with the fight quite yet.
That is fantastic. Make him work. Make her work for it. I'm sorry. Make them work for it. Make her work for it. Let's see. It looked like GTG just spun out, but he's back on the track now. I was just finished the replay there. I think it was just a little bit of oversteer. Tires are probably a little bit worn. As we come into the very end of this race. Cott still looking for that window past Potvin.
Oh, Maxwell tried to pull a move, but it looks like he ended up in the dirt. He taps, who was that there? He tapped that other driver right next to him. I can't quite see the number there. But ended up losing that position. It looks like Selena pulled out in front, and she is sitting way in front now for the little bit. So it looks like Maxwell's hit actually cost him a position here.
Oh!
Speaking
Maxwell.
of, he just spun out.
Yeah, Maxwell just, I'm going to put the replay on, but Maxwell just tapped somebody coming out of that chicane. If I'm looking at the right vehicle, right driver. Right? Trying to take it on the inside, cut it. Oh. Maybe cut it a little bit too much there. Those curbs they will get you if you're sleeping behind the wheel.
Yeah, you hate to see it literally on the last couple of seconds of the race here. I mean,
yeah.
Martin, or I keep saying that, Diggs, coming out number one. Sarcone is very shortly behind him, coming P2, trembling right behind the bunch with a P3. Nava looks like had a yellow flag thrown up, but they are going in for 6. Smalley with a last second. Nope, sorry. Let's say, waiting as this kind of shuffles in. Smith number 4, Smalley number 5, which, let's see, Nava is number 6, Rodriguez 7, GB3 ended up finishing P8 and still held the fastest time of the night with a 142.510. Just a blazing fast time that obviously no one else could touch. That's definitely something to be proud of.
Absolutely.
But Boonstra coming right into the end, looks like with a jumping around here, 13th place finish. Yeah, 13th place finish is a finish here, but a lot of fast drivers out there tonight. A lot of great racing, couple of incidents, but definitely not as many as we saw last week with the rain. It's a little refreshing, I guess, per se, but a couple of really good battles, couple of good moves in there throughout the race. Looks like Whitescarver ended up getting hit with a 30-second penalty. Not 100% sure what that's for, but Walkowitz, let's say we got all the drivers pulling to the end here, so.
It was a great race.
That wraps up week 4. At Imola, we got, let's see, Sarcone. Sorry, not Sarcone. We got people leaving the session now, so. But, I mean, a great racing all around. It was a tough race throughout. Definitely saw a lot of interesting strategies. And not a race to be forgotten.
No, that was amazing. That was great.
But let's start taking a look, seeing who we can pull up here. That you can shout out anyone that you see. It looks like Daniel's popped in there. I know we said we pull him up into here, get a little commentary. We'll see if he has anything to say here.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat now. Who's in here?
Welcome to the commentator booth, Sean. How we doing? He's currently muted. We'll see. Could be AFK. We've definitely had that happen a couple of times. Looks like he left. Let's see. On to the next here. Do we see our race winner in here quite yet?
I'm looking for. I don't see Diggs. I see Riggs, but I don't see Diggs. It's not yet.
Keep an eye out for it. We can pull Sarcone up into here, see if he has anything to say.
There we go, yeah.
Welcome to the commentator's booth, Corey.
How are you?
Hey, not too bad. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, given the circumstances.
Gonna say very strong start to the race. You were definitely hot lapping out there for a while, but seems like Diggs just had a little bit better of a pit strategy on you and managed to pull out. What anything happened with the pit, or just kind of a bad position to end up in?
Well, it started. I mean, Max nailed it with the right time to pit. I got stuck behind those blue flags, and it slowed me down a little bit. And then when I did jump in the pit, I blew my pit stop. So that's what happened there.
Gotcha. Yeah, we were noticing a 7 second, I think it was, gap right at the end there.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. We were talking about different strategies and all that. We were talking at the start of the race about different strategies for just keeping your tires warm. What's your strategy going into it?
I was going as hard as I possibly could the entire time.
Hey, it seemed to work out. I mean, at the end of the day, a second place finish is nothing to scoff at. A very, very strong finish. Some great racing from the two of you. I mean, for a while there, it was just, it seemed like you and Diggs were just out there hot lapping the whole time. Just kind of chilling at the front of the group and, got close to each other a couple of times, but it seemed like a big yo-yo effect.
Yeah, I mean, all the credit goes to him. I mean, I was watching him in my mirrors that entire race, and when I did get a little bit of a gap from him, that's when I started making mistakes. And I mean, within a turn or two, he's right back there. But yeah, this was his race tonight. All the credit goes to him. He had a great race, nailed the pit strategy, put the pressure on me. He definitely deserved that win tonight.
That's what it's all about, but at least you made him work for it, and that's what we're all here for.
I tried.
I think you did a great job.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. I appreciate the commentary here and look forward to see. I mean, been a very strong competitor out there on the track. Look forward to seeing your next week's race at what did I say it was, Misano?
I think so, yeah. No, Monza.
Yes,
Monza.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's definitely
turn one.
Yes. But I, like I said, I really appreciate the commentary, Corey, and we'll let you get back to your debriefing over there.
Alrighty, appreciate you guys. Looking forward to watching back the stream.
Absolutely appreciate it. Have a good one, man.
Hey, man.
You too.
All right. I do not see our winner. Curtis was towards the back. He was involved in a few incidents at the beginning.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can pull him in. I'm noticing Tremeling looks like he's deafened, so I don't want to pull him in if he's not gonna be able to hear anything.
Right.
But definitely one to keep an eye out on. Pull our third place up here, but let's pull Curtis for a little bit with a further back commentary here. Welcome to the commentary booth, Curtis. How we doing?
Oh, hello.
Hey, Curtis. So we saw you were caught up in if I remember correctly, you were caught up in a couple incidents early on in the race. Turn one or before turn one? Was that you in that mess too?
Oh yeah, I was a part of that mess. Which there was a lot of rubber banding going on early on in that race. Not much that I think anyone can do about it. And then I don't know if I was still shook from it or if I was just being a terrible driver, but I know I rear-ended Daniels either end of that lap or the next lap, and I felt like a real jerk for that. Man. So if he makes it this far in the stream, I apologize, Mr. Daniels.
I mean, good for you for owning that. That does suck, and I can definitely sympathize with that, as I've punted drivers on lap one before as well. It definitely can throw you off. But I mean, good kudos from you for sticking through the entire race, despite all your. I mean, I don't want to call them mishaps because I don't think they were entirely your fault, but just despite the incidents that put you at the bottom of the grid.
Oh yeah, I'll always stick it out because we're here, we're having fun. I've got the dulcet tones of Jean-Luc Picard sharing the voice chat with me, so it's nice. And he had a phenomenal race.
Yeah, he ended
Oh,
up great.
Yeah, 15th, 16th, yeah. He was top 3 before going to the pit, I think, is what Caden was saying. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
absolutely.
3rd or 2nd right at the end there. Ended up pitting. I think we said he lost about 13 or so positions through his pit, but that's all part of it. Interesting coming in, seeing the different pit strategies. But as always, I really appreciate the commentary, Curtis, and definitely look forward to see a strong race into next week.
Oh yeah, hopefully a little bit more practice time next week, and we can be talking about like a top 20 finish instead of talking about a you stuck it out and finished 32nd finish.
I mean, we take all kinds, but I do understand.
Cool. Take care, guys.
Hey,
Yeah,
have a good
same
one,
thing.
man.
Yup. Bye-bye.
Looks like Tremeling ended up undeafening. I'm gonna pull him into here, see if he has anything to say. Welcome to the commentator booth, Tremeling. How we doing, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, not too bad. Just wanted to get a little bit of a commentary from you. The first, second, and third place really did not move around throughout the entire race. I mean, you stuck in third and pretty much stayed there the entire race, super consistent. What was give us a little insight on that.
Well, I just had nothing for those top two guys. Those guys were just on a whole another level. So I kind of just said, I'm going to just not even push to try and catch those guys and just race my own race. I had Smalley behind me and I just kind of kept a 1 to 2 second gap the entire time. And he ended up pitting before me. And when I came out of the pits, I ended up gaining about 3 seconds. So from there, I just had a pretty decent gap and just held her down.
Yeah, obviously it worked out. Third place. I mean, that is nothing to scoff at. You guys are already, what was it, number 3rd or 4th for team standings right now. That's definitely going to help your case. We're looking at between you and GB3 this season. Definitely a favorite to keep an eye on. But I mean, congrats on the high finish here.
Yeah, that was definitely a better turnout from my teammate and I from last week. We did not do well in the rain, but
I guess we can get a little bit of insight from you about the rain. We were talking about it a lot last week between differing driving styles and being more aggressive. GB3 especially seems to be one of those very aggressive throw it into corner type drivers that does not mix well with the rain. I guess you got any insight on something like that?
Well, going from D5, I ended up winning both of the rain races, and so not that I was tooting my own horn, but I thought had a pretty good chance in the rain, and for me, I got myself into some very bad situations in the bus stop trying to make passes where you just honestly should just take another couple turns and try to make something else happen. So that ruined my race that day. So.
Yeah, definitely tough to see after all the practice that you guys put in. But man, have your team been a fun one to follow along with throughout the season. But I really appreciate the commentary. Any comments from the resident toast?
No, I mean I think you pretty much covered in that. Like, you ran a great race, and we love watching you guys, and we can't wait to see the next one. Fantastic.
Thank you. I'd like to shout out the teammates from D1, Ronya and Dupis, and Gordon of obviously my teammate, and we're just holding it down for the Start Your Systems team.
Absolutely, I can't wait to see you booted all the way up to D1 next season.
Chance of that, but that's the end goal, right?
Right, exactly. Doesn't matter if it's season 8 or season 78. We'll make it there eventually.
Right. Yeah, once everyone retires, we'll be up there.
But
start
as
my own
always,
server.
I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you next week. So,
all right, thanks, guys.
hey, no problem. Have a good one, man.
You too.
All right, I think that just about wraps us up for this week. Definitely definitely lots of good racing. Not necessarily as action-packed as last week, but definitely a lot still going on. So with that being said, I think we're about to sign off. Any last regards from you, Tos?
I mean, nothing new. Just an honor to be here. I'm happy to wrap up the 4th week, halfway through. That was a fantastic race. Love seeing everyone so tight on the grid, and I'm looking forward to next week. Monza turn 1. We'll get as many cameras on it as we can.
Exactly. We're gonna need about 6 more camera guys to keep an eye out on it. It's definitely one of those that, I mean, you got to be careful with it. But anyways, that is a next week's problem. With that being said, we'll sign off, and we will see you next week. Have a good one, everyone.
See you guys.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 3 long weeks here at SRA.
Welcome back to the best racing in North America, home of the SRA GT3 Team Series. 60 minutes of action-packed door-to-door racing, 6 divisions, 6 different championships on the line. Let's get ready for some action tonight.
An incident. Oh, Berg, we have Boardman at a yellow. Looks like he's dropping down positions there. The chicane has a bunch of cars are coming through.
Byron's going to take a dive in the Lexus.
Johnson looking to go down the inside of Maxwell.
And we're off and away for SRA.